To really understand the United States, you have to grapple with a paradox. It's a nation that was founded on this incredible universal creative liberty, and yet it was born with these deep, profound contradictions. It's a story of both immense achievement and just this enduring struggle, a narrative that's constantly being written and rewritten. The writer, James Baldwin, he just captured this tension perfectly. This idea of his critical patriotism suggests that the deepest love for a country isn't some kind of blind loyalty. No, it's a relentless demand that the country live up to its own highest ideals. And that's what we're going to explore here. The American story seen through its founding promises and its ongoing arguments with itself. So, which one is it? Is it a story of inevitable progress, of triumph? Or is it more of a perpetual battle over the very meaning of its creation? This question, it's really the heart of the whole American experiment. And to even begin to answer it, we have to go back to the beginning. We have to look at the nation's source code. See, the tensions that are defining America today, they aren't new. They're not recent developments at all. To really get it, you have to see that they were woven into the very fabric of the nation right at its founding, creating this blueprint of profound contradictions from day one. Just look at the incredible contrast between the nation's two founding documents. On one side, you have the Declaration of Independence. It's this soaring, philosophical vision of universal human rights. It's the nation's creed, its poetry. But then, on the other side, you have the Constitution. It's a brilliant but deeply pragmatic blueprint for a government. And it's a document full of compromises, the most glaring, of course, being the 3/5 Clause, which actually institutionalized slavery into the political system, all to hold a fragile union together. The ideal versus the reality, it's right there in black and white. And this tells us something really important. The United States wasn't born from consensus. It was born from argument. The founders themselves had these radically different visions for the country. You had Alexander Hamilton, who was pushing for a powerful, centralized industrial nation. And then you had Thomas Jefferson, who feared that exact kind of power and instead championed this decentralized republic of farmers. And right in the middle, trying to bridge that gap, was James Madison, the great pragmatist, designing a system of checks and balances specifically to manage these warring factions. That clash of visions, it wasn't a flaw in the system, it was the system. And those founding tensions, well, they never really went away. Today, they're just playing out on a brand new stage, across a nation that's going through this period of immense and rapid change, what some have started calling the Great Shift. Let's just try to grasp the sheer scale of this shift, starting with the people themselves. In 2020, only 57.8% of the population identified as non-Hispanic white. Now, that's down from almost 64% just 10 years earlier. This isn't just some small statistical drift. It is a clear, undeniable marker of the country's rapid journey toward a majority-minority future. And you can see this reflected in what's called the U.S. Diversity Index. It basically measures the probability that any two people you pick at random will be from different racial and ethnic groups. At 61.1%, it confirms that we're looking at a society that is measurably, fundamentally more pluralistic than at any point in its recent past. But this change isn't just demographic. It's also spiritual. Today, almost a third of American adults, 29%, are religiously unaffiliated. They're often called the knowns. And this group is growing incredibly fast, especially among young people, signaling this major shift away from traditional religious institutions. And happening at the exact same time, the economy has undergone this incredible transformation. Back in the 1950s, the U.S. was the undisputed industrial king of the world, making most of the planet's cars and steel. But by the 70s, oil shocks and global competition triggered this really painful period of deindustrialization. Fast forward to today, and the economy isn't driven by making things anymore. It's driven by designing them, financing them, and consuming them. In fact, consumer spending now makes up a staggering 68% of the entire economy. But this new economy, well, it hasn't created equal outcomes for everyone, not even close. And you can see the result right here on this chart. Despite decades of progress, the gap in household wealth is still a vast chasm. The median wealth for a white household is nearly 5 times that of a Hispanic household, and it's over 6 times that of a black household. This is an enormous, enduring challenge to that core promise of the American dream. So you take all these massive changes, demographic, economic, spiritual, and they've fueled a new and frankly dangerous kind of political division. There's a term for it, effective polarization. And what it means is this isn't just about disagreeing on policy anymore. It's become a visceral dislike, a gut-level belief that the other side isn't just wrong, but that they are fundamentally immoral, a danger to the country itself. Which brings us to a central metaphor for understanding America today, the cracked mirror. Think about it. The image of the flag, that symbol of a single national identity, it's still there, it's whole, but we are all viewing it through a shattered lens of political, cultural, and economic division. Each one of those shards reflects a completely different reality. We're all looking at the same country, but we are seeing entirely different, competing versions of it. So, where does all this leave the United States? Well, it leaves it standing at a crossroads, facing three immense, interconnected challenges that are going to define its path for the next generation. Let's break them down. First, you've got demographic headwinds. An aging population that's growing more slowly is putting incredible strain on the economy and the social safety net. Second, there's the infrastructure deficit. Decades of underinvestment have left a crumbling physical foundation, which hurts competitiveness. And third, what we can call the Great Fracture. That extreme political division we just talked about, combined with a massive national debt, which prevents the country from building the consensus it needs to solve these huge long-term problems. It's a vicious, self-reinforcing cycle. And these numbers, they make the abstract problems brutally concrete. By 2055, the national debt is projected to hit 156% of GDP. At the same time, the worker-to-retiree ratio, that's the number of people working to support each person on Social Security, is set to fall from about 3-to-1 today to just over 2-to-1. So fewer workers supporting more retirees with way more debt. That right there is an unsustainable equation. So, with these foundational stresses clear in our minds, we get to the final act. The future isn't set in stone. It's not preordained. The choices that are made in the coming years will almost certainly steer the nation down one of several very, very different paths. So what are these plausible futures? Well, one is what you could call managed decline. Political gridlock just continues, leading to this slow erosion of economic vitality and global influence. America becomes a kind of hollow superpower. Another path is the resilient republic, where a series of crises actually forces a new consensus, sparking a grand bargain on reform and investment that leads to national renewal. And then there's a third possibility, divided states, a future where the federal government becomes almost irrelevant and the country fractures into these competing regional economic and cultural blocs. Ultimately, what this all really comes down to is that the American narrative is, and always has been, unfinished. The story of its past is one of wrestling with its own contradictions, and the story of its future will be defined by how it confronts the immense challenges of today. The script is not yet written. The question that remains is, which story will it be?